I'm Brenda. Welcome to my quilt room. Today I'm going to show you how you can upcycle an old pair of blue jeans and make an apron. It can be for you or a gift for someone else. Here's one that I made for myself a while back. This would make a really nice gift, or it's very usable. I like to repurpose things and then use them for something else. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. Here's one that I've started, and I did this, I'll explain that to you. And I'm going to show you what you're going to need to cut out your jeans. You will need about 3/4 of an accent fabric to make your straps and to sew on the edges of your blue jeans. You'll probably need a ruler. You'll need some pins, a rotary cutter to cut your fabric. This is the applique that I use to put the star on mine. You might need some tacky glue, a seam ripper, a friction pen, a pencil, Post-it note to write down your settings on your sewing machine, an open toe or embroidery foot for your sewing machine, and a denim needle, which I've already put a brand new one into my machine. Okay. Let me move these out of the way. I'm going to show you how to cut your blue jeans. This was just an old pair of jeans that my husband had that he wasn't using anymore. And so I asked him, do you care if I take those? I like to look around on Pinterest, and I saw a tutorial where someone had taken the jeans and made them into an apron. And so I made one, and I wasn't really happy with all of the instructions, and I tend to do things on my own. I make things my own quite a bit, and so I changed it up a little bit. So as a disclaimer, this is not my idea. You want to lay out your blue jeans and then cut it straight across. You need a good pair of scissors that will cut through the denim, and just cut all the way across your jeans. So you could actually get 2 aprons out of this, and you can also save the top of the jeans to make a purse, or you could make an additional apron. Now, in the video that I watched, they took the back pockets off, and you can use your seam ripper and you can take the pockets off if you want, as I did on mine, to embellish the front of the apron. So you could sit and do that one night when you're just sitting in front of the TV. So we have our leg for our apron. And now what you want to do, straighten it out. This one kind of has a crease in it already down the middle. And what you're going to do, the end of the leg is going to become the top of the apron. So take the crease, follow the crease line, and just cut down the middle. If this was the back of the leg. Okay. And then open it up and turn it over, because the bottom of the leg is going to be the top of your apron. Now, blue jeans today are made with a lot of stretchy material, and the edge of one of the legs will tend to flare out a little bit. Now, that may not bother you. It bothers me. So I'm going to try and straighten up the end of the leg. And if you want, you could take a marker, you could take a friction pen, and you could kind of eyeball, and you could mark that if you want. You can come up a little farther if you want to totally take out that edge of the blue jean. So I'm just going to eyeball it from this end over. And then I turn mine around, and I don't like this flared edge. So I'm going to cut this a little bit and just go up until I'm at the edge, till it runs out, and cut that off. Okay, so now we need to cut out where the bib of the apron, and it will go around underneath your arms. I like to come down about 9 or 10 inches on the apron. So fold it over, smooth it out. Whoops. And we'll mark this at 9 inches. I'll just put a little mark there at 9 inches. I want to mention, depending on if you're making this apron for yourself or if you're making it for a child, then this apron may be too large for that person. Think about yourself or the person that you may want to give this to. You may want to purchase an old pair of jeans from a thrift store for a child. I like to do that. You can find things really reasonable. Now, when we cut out the arm, you're just going to make a curve. And you can draw it on there if that helps you, or if you can eyeball it. It doesn't have to be extreme. But just keep in mind, how large do you want the bib of your apron to be? Follow your little line. Okay. And so now you can see how you're starting to get the shape of the apron. So now your accent fabric comes into play. You want to cut 4 strips of an accent fabric. Okay? And they need to be 4 inches wide. So cut 4 strips of your accent fabric and cut it the complete width of your fabric, which is generally about 42 inches. You're going to fold it in half, wrong sides together, like this, and press it. And then open them back up, and then fold that about halfway in toward the crease on each side, and press each side. Then fold them together, fold those edges together, and your smooth edges will be together, and press it one more time. And now, before you start sewing your strips on for your straps, you want to think about, how do you want to embellish your apron? On mine, I had cut out a letter B, and I appliqued this with heat bond to the bib of the apron, and I zigzag stitched around it. So if you want to give this to someone specific, you might want to put an initial on there. Maybe they like flowers, or maybe they have apples in their kitchen. You know, there are all kinds of appliques available on the internet. So I had no one specific that I was going to make my apron for, so I picked out a star just to go with the fabric that I picked out. And I made a star. I appliqued it on with the heat bond, and then I zigzag stitched around the outside edge. And then I put a pocket on. You may want to use the pockets that you have taken off of the back of your blue jeans. And you may want to put those two on the front. I didn't have those, and so I just took an extra piece of the fabric that I had left and I made a pocket, and I just put one complete strip on here, and I've sewed down the middle and put a little accent button on each pocket. And you'll want to do this before you go and put your strips on, so that you're not having to maneuver the strips out of the way as you work at the sewing machine. So do that first. It will make it easier for you. The first two strips that you want to put on your apron are going to be the sides. And by the side, I mean just this side from under the arm down. And so we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to sew these on. Don't worry about your selvage edges. Those are actually going to come into play later. So I'm going to take one of my strips and I'm going to cut it. And I'm just going to measure it off and cut it again for the other side. And then go to the sewing machine and sew these two edges on. Now I'm going to lay my apron in here and fold this over, and I'll use some pins to pin it in place as I sew it. You might want to roll that just a little bit with your fingers. Make sure you've got it in there. It's not going to matter if you have this hanging over at the top, because when you sew on your straps to go around to tie behind you, those won't, you're going to trim those edges off. So we'll pin both of these sides on, and then we will go to the sewing machine and sew them down. Now, you have these two edges on. You can trim the edge at the armhole that went over a little bit and trim that off. Now the next two pieces that you want to put on, you're going to take a strip and you're going to go across the top of the bib and then go across the bottom of the apron. Now here you will want to give yourself a little extra room, because the edges of the top of the bib, those are going to be covered up when you put your strap on for your neck and you tie it around the back. But at the bottom, the edges you want to be smooth and finished. So this one has a selvage edge on the end, which isn't going to unravel, and we can use that. So I won't cut that edge off. But this one, I'm going to give myself a little bit more room so that I can turn the edge under. So I'm just going to open it back up, and I'm going to fold it under, and I'm going to iron that. And then I'm going to fold it over. Well, we'll see how far we get. I can fold that over and press it, and that's a nice smooth edge. I might need to fold it under again. We'll see when I pin this on. Let's trim this edge a little bit. I like to pin things in place. Don't worry if there's a little wrinkle here or there. You're going to use this. It's going to go through the washing machine. You know, all the creases are not going to stay nice and crisp. And hopefully, if you make this for yourself or for someone else, oh, that came out really nice, that they're going to use it and not just, you know, leave it hang in their kitchen. Trim this edge off. I like to repurpose things that have and make them useful, that have a use. Okay, looks pretty good. I might fold that under one more time. Give it a little steam. There we go. There, that looks nice. Pin in there. And one more in here. I like using the 4-inch accent strips. The initial video instructions that I saw only used about a 2-inch strip of fabric, and when you're sewing with something that's denim, when it was folded, it didn't give you very much room at all to go beyond the really thick seam of the denim, and it was just really difficult to try to stitch through. And so this goes over the really big lumpy part of the jeans, and it just makes it so much easier to sew over. And I think it gives a prettier accent to the apron when you can see a little bit more of the fabric. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that edge off, and we will go to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch these 2 pieces down. These are the straps. You have 2 full-length pieces. Again, at this point, you want to consider the height or the size of the person that you're making this for. Or, you know, I'm very short, and some people are probably quite a bit taller than I am. I like to leave, if you will go from your selvage edge, about 10 inches. And you're going to do that with each piece of the strap. And it'd be just as well if you leave the selvage edge, you know, toward the top. So I would take the 10 inches and we're going to start pinning along the top at that 10-inch mark. There we go. Okay. And now, because your fabric was cut on the straight grain, you kind of just have to just play with it a little bit in this curve that you have here and just kind of work it in. It's not going to be a really sharp transition. So you just kind of have to work it in. There we go. That's pretty good. And then the rest of the strap will be what is tied around their back. And it's also already a selvage edge, so you don't have to worry about it unraveling. It's not going to unravel. You're going to leave this end open, and we will pin this side down, and then we're going to open these up, and we're going to take these 2 ends and we're going to stitch them together so that this will make a loop to go over their head. We want to open them out and stitch them together to make the top. I almost forgot to quit sewing. Put a pin or two in there just to hold it together. And stitch those together. We will fold these back the way they were. Okay, after you have sewed, opened up the two edges of your selvages, sewed them together, and then stitch around the neck piece, your apron is now finished. And so you've got the loop to go over your person's head, and the ties, you can tie it in the back, and you have your apron. So I hope that you will give this a try, recycle an old pair of jeans. If you like my videos, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Thank you.